Chinese drones fly over USS Ronald Reagan. What can DJI do? So that's the school run done. Not even 7 hours since I posted my last video. I had to stay up late last night because about midnight my time, the NTSB story broke that they were reporting the Black Hawk incident. And I was in slow time today going to make a video about the really poor show of airmanship being displayed by people in the comments on social media today. They really don't get it, and they still think it was the helicopter driver's fault, which I just beggars belief. But an even bigger story is beginning to break, and that's yet another aircraft carrier being flown over, this time the USS Reagan, which is sat Ronald Reagan, I think, which is in Hong Kong, perhaps now on its way to North Korea. I've seen 2 videos and 1 set of photos. 3 different users were flying over that aircraft carrier in Hong Kong, and it rather underlines the military's fears. As I've said, this should have been all about the social media reactions to the NTSB report released about midnight last night for me on the Black Hawk Phantom 4 incident in New York, which are quite frankly disgraceful. Bruce Simpson knows quite right this has given us our first data point. It's also exposing the complete lack of understanding and empathy in the drone community at large for manned aviation. But this story has already been topped within 12 hours of it happening. In August, the UK had a mini scandal when a DJI aircraft not only flew over HMS Queen Elizabeth, the Royal Navy's newest aircraft carrier, but it touched down momentarily on the deck after also landing in high winds. The aircraft carrier was at its maker and not yet equipped with aircraft. Shortly afterwards it sailed for Portsmouth, and an unofficial unveiling. Strong defences, both in the form of warning notices everywhere, local news reporting, and electronic means, I was told, were put in place, and I cannot find a single video of it on YouTube close up to Portsmouth. Maybe the drone owners of the south part of the UK were just too law-abiding. Fast forward to now, this morning. China allowed USS Ronald Reagan to make a port call this week before it sails for joint military exercises with South Korea. Perhaps drone operators flew over the USS Ronald Reagan with permission, and the videos that are out there are designed to worry North Korea. Or maybe the flights were to update the Chinese on exactly what was on board. Either way, there are already 2 videos out there, and quite a few photos on Facebook. The videos are by, I'm going to get this name wrong, Yu Wan and Ma Francis. In Mr. Wan's video, sailors can be seen on the end of the deck looking up at his drone. Obviously, the US Navy are not silly enough to put secret stuff out in the open for such a port visit. Flight operations are not taking place in either video, so that's also positive. But if the community at large wants more flight restrictions put in place, then they just need to keep on going with the attitude that it's your right to do what you want when you want. Let's just see how it ends up if we keep going like that. So what's DJI to do then? In their defence, it's not their fault that some DJI users display questionable ethics. Much like aviation has ADS-B for tracking aircraft, ships have AIS, the Automatic Identification System. And just like ADS-B, enthusiasts around the world have set up receivers to listen out and map ships' progress. And again, just like aircraft do with ADS-B, but with boats, small boats can see big boats coming in a low-cost way. The US military used to turn AIS off, but in light of recent high-profile collisions, captains have been told to switch it back on. It would not be impossible to set up no-fly zones around large vessels and cruise ships. This would mean the drone user would have to have an internet connection whilst flying for the information to be fed into his or her GCS. DJI's new privacy mode, which restricts height and distance if you're not connected to the internet, might yet end up becoming standard mode.